Buenos días, Octavi.
Hola, buenas tardes, buenos días.
Sí, buenas tardes. Bueno, oye, creo que empezaremos más o menos on time.
Perfecto.
Eh, ¿Podemos asegurarnos de que tu cámara funciona bien?
Sí, la conecto, un momento.
Por favor.
Perfecto, ¿no?
Sí, fantástico. Muy bueno, se te ve muy bien.
Perfecto.
Fantástico y se te oye bien. Entonces, pues en cuanto estén preparados en la sala, nos
Me
conectaremos.
avisáis, vale, perfecto. Ok,
Fantástico, gracias. Hasta ahora.
hasta ahora. Disculpa, Firdaus, ¿sabes cuántos? Porque me acaban de decir ahora mismo que había alguien que ha dicho que tiene presentación de los participantes. Me han dicho que era Andrea Kalori, pero ¿hay alguien más que tiene presentación?
Espera, lo voy a comprobar. Quédate
Pues,
conmigo.
Marta me ha enviado un mensaje ahora
Ujú.
que me ha dicho que Andrea Kalori tenía una presentación, pero no me consta si alguien más tiene.
Yo aquí no tengo
Vale,
el detalle.
vale.
Ah,
Ok, entonces solamente será
sí,
él.
hay más, hay dos
Ah, sí,
presentaciones.
vale.
Sí.
¿Y el otro es? ¿Sabes quién es el otro?
El profesor Bonson y Giorgio Olivetti son
O
los
sea que
dos.
todos tienen presentación, vale. Menos Gulen Constant. Vale, ok.
Hay otro, está Andrea Kalori también.
Sí, Andrea
¿Tienes
Calori es el
el-
que me ha dicho, justo Marta me ha dicho que justo acaba de enviar una presentación ahora.
Ah, sí, entonces son tres. Vale.
Vale.
Menos
Menos
el
el
Gulen.
representante de Izmir. Vale, perfecto.
Exacto.
Gracias.
De nada, con gusto. Octavi, te pongo un mensajito por el chat.
Vale, perfecto.
Gracias. Mr. Son, Octavi, we are waiting for the mayor to arrive to the room on the ground in Izmir, and we will be beginning in some minutes. Thank you for your patience.
Ben Halit Tadmuri Lübnan'dan. Ama zamanında Türkiye'de eğitim gördüm.
Hello, good afternoon from Barcelona. Hello to everybody in Izmir and the other people around the world that are sharing this session with us today. This is a parallel session on Chita Slow Metropolis.
Bueno, buenas tardes a todos y a todas.
Herkese iyi öğleden sonralar, iyi akşamlar.
With interpretation, sorry. I was saying hello.
Kamusal alanlar, kentsel planlama ve tasarım.
Under the title Chita Slow Metropolis, Engaging Large Cities to the Chita Slow Movement. As you know, the Chita Slow Movement, the Slow City Movement, started in 1999 in Italy, in Tuscany, in the very nice region of Tuscany. And it was inspired by the movement of the slow food, also originated in Italy. And it's a movement that, for those who don't know it, reclaimed the serenity of daily life in a society that's driven by haste and immediacy. And I think it's very interesting how this movement has been spreading all around the world and engaging different cities. I was glad to discover, and that was when I was preparing this session, that I discovered that the Chita Slow movement, they have a commission, a workshop, a permanent, scientific permanent workshop working on the issue of slow city and metropolises. And this is amazing because we always connect metropolises, metropolitan areas, metropolitan spaces to noise, to hustle, to unrest, to fast, to movement very fast, because we are the center of the development, we are the center of economy, we have people around, people coming, people going. We are as well, we think sometimes the metropolitan spaces are the areas of culture development with all these theaters, heritage, all these cultural infrastructures. but everything is always happening very, very fast. And that's one of the questions, and maybe today we'll start to answer this question all together, is it possible to apply the principles of Chita's law to a metropolis, to a big metropolitan area? How we can slow down our metropolitan areas to make them better for our citizens, to make them really, really vibrant societies that everybody can develop themselves without losing the characteristics of a metropolitan space. In this sense, today we have, and I'm glad this session is also hosted by Izmir, and I hope that Izmir will join us as well, Metropolis, as the metropolitan section, and Metropolis will be able as well to be involved in the work of the Chita, with the Chita slow movement, that we could work together on exploring ways of working together, and as well in this direction of how we can improve the quality of life of our citizens, and how we can involve culture and this slow movement in our metropolises. In this sense, today we have together with us 4 speakers that will be sharing the session with us. I will introduce them. First of all, I spoke really straightforward and very fast, so apologies to the interpreters, and I didn't introduce myself. I'm Octavio de la Varga, Secretary General of Metropolis, the global network of major cities and metropolitan areas. And we are as well the metropolitan section of Uclg. So we try to bring in the debates of Uclg all the voices of major cities and metropolitan areas. And as I said, we have 4 speakers today with us. One is Pier Giorgio Olivetti. He's the Secretary General of Chita's Law International. We have Professor Bon Soul joining us from Korea. He's the coordinator of Chita Slow Korea Network. We have Andrea Kalori. He's a researcher within Chita Slow International. And at last but not least, we'll have Bulent Koster, coordinator of Chita Slow Metropolis Izmir project. And with them, we'll want to tackle some series of questions: how the Chita Slow movement has been contributing and can contribute face-to-face to the pandemic and the aftermath of the pandemic, how it can be connected to the international and global agendas, how it can be applied the principles of Chita's law to big cities, metropolitan areas, and metropolises. So without much further ado, I will invite Mr. Pier Giorgio Olivetti, as said, Secretary General of Chita's Law International, to share with us his views on what's the Chita's Law movement and why it is relevant in the context of the COVID-19 crisis and in other crises of humanity, not only on the current crisis. And of course, how can a city or a metropolis can be part of this movement? So how we can engage, how we can promote that big cities and metropolitan areas join this movement. So Mr. Olivetti, whenever you want. I think you have a presentation that you will be sharing with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our chairman and moderator, Octavio de la Varga. Thanks for introductory speech. Good morning and good afternoon to you all, a good evening, because we have also friends from Korea in Far East. In short, Chita's Law is an international group of mayors and communities, little, medium, and large cities, born in Italy over 20 years ago, as a reaction against the fast life, the turbo economies, often not so friendly for the human's being. Speed is not a modern dogma. Yes, we declare from the beginning in the 1999, but more, the role of cities, the large cities overall, is increasingly important for the fate of the entire planet. Just now, you know, over the 50% of the people in the planet is living in the big or large cities. In the last 2 years, starting to answer to our chairman, in the last 2 years, facing the global crisis, pandemic, but also we don't forget the social and economic and the climate changing crisis, millions of people suddenly in the world discovered the deep meaning of Chitoslow payoff, the city of good and easy living. Being slow doesn't mean being late. Good living, we propose that Chitoslow as a movement, international movement, is to reconcile, to renew the alliance between cities and their inhabitants, to harmonize ideas, projects, ancient and new customs, and so to select in 2 words the best of the past and the best of the modern age. What is Chitoslow? In our logo, you look, we have an orange snail that carries a city in its shell. It is important to face the globalization when the globalization influence and provoke the pauperism of people and social injustice, and not easy future, but bad future. Chitoslow means, in short, reflexive modernity, to give a future, to give, as I told, a good future, because the future will arrive, surely, but it could arrive bad or easy living and good. And we are a group of mayors. We are with us, I am very honored, the mayor of Izmir and our Chitoslow International Vice President Tunç Sawyer this evening. Thanks, Tunç. He is an example of good administration of a big and complex reality as a big metropolis city as Izmir. Slow culture is a positive and active counterculture made to improve the living conditions of urban and rural communities. Exactly. How Chitoslow work in concrete? We are a family of towns in general in 31 countries. We are about 300 towns and cities in 31 countries at the moment. And we have a table of project. We cannot in a few minutes explain, but we have many sectors from tourism to Chitoslow education with schools, Chitoslow metropolis, of course, Chitoslow agriculture, urban planning, Chitoslow doing for handicraft, put in value. And so I don't enter, I am to your disposal for questions. So the core question of this evening, how metropolis may be sustainable, healthy, safe, places for easy living for all people, not for elite. It is the big challenge of Chitoslow metropolis that, starting from some big cities in the world and from 1 year and a half from Izmir, it was, thanks to Tunç Sawyer, to receive the responsibility to create a pilot project in 2 years, by the end of June 2022, of Chitoslow metropolis. It's a very important, it is a reality that could be today an enormous impact for the world, enormous impact. And we are very proud to start in Izmir for this. Going on very quickly, sorry, I am speaking about slowness, but in a hurry, very in a hurry. How can a metropolis be part of Chitoslow? But it is possible to win this challenge. We started in Busan in South Korea. Later we heard the contribution from the Professor Bonson from South Korea Chitoslow network. The first one was Bruxelles, Barcelona, Milan. In Barcelona we have had many relationship with the administration and the Institute of Advanced Architecture in Catalonia. Very important experiences that we have a treasure of experiences in our network, and now we put to disposal to Tunç Sawyer, to the mayors of big cities, because we can open a new perspective as a city of cities. The neighborhoods of a big Chittaslow metropolis can become, not every time, not always, can become a community with an identity, with a spirit of community, and of course interconnected with the rest of the body of the big metropolis. And then we are working for this, adapting our grid of indicators of quality of Chittaslow that is valid at the moment for little or medium-sized towns in the world to the big cities divided in neighborhoods: Chittaslow Metropole, community, solidarity, economy for the people, urban ecosystem, good governance, eco-mobility, food for all. This is only a part. Later with Bulent, Costem, the coordinator and the technical responsible of this project for Chittaslow International, we heard details about this hard job just started in Izmir. This is, I don't enter on details, it is impossible this evening, but you know, we are crossing the Chittaslow philosophy, the Chittaslow principles with the slow urbanism in general. There are a lot of studies in the world, to Chittaslow goals. I don't read, but you have in the documentation. We are, of course, to your disposal for question on details. And I go to the last contribution is I would to speak about culture, because UCLG remarked the importance of culture in this occasion, in this mere event, very important. So it's very, very simple. It is our DNA. It is a genetic, very a genetic code of Chittaslow. We started from the culture, memory, historic heritage, but toward to the future. Don't forget the past, put in value the best of the past, I repeat, and this is concretely a contribution to UCLG. It is a good example. Chittaslow is not only a pattern theoretical or theoric, it's very practical, very operational. This is the force. In short, Chittaslow is a localization of the good principles. The ground, in other words, to ground ideas, to put in the ground, and the principles into and with concrete project that later we hear from other speakers. And so we are very happy to be as a pioneers in this, because we are doing that from 22 years. And so we are happy to read every week a new meeting, new events about resilience, sustainability, well-being. We are very happy because at last many million of people, and now billion with the big cities, understood the importance of slowness, positive slowness. At last I conclude to UCLG delegates, I say that to be slow today is not a choice. It is a global need. It's not a problem of Chittaslow. Chittaslow is a very smart and clever association of mayors and community. But it is not a choice because we need to respect ourselves and overall the next generation. We believe Chittaslow can do some good in the big metropolis and the little villages in the mountains, and we are really a vaccine of the modernity. Thank you for your attention, and very sorry for the speedy.
Thank you very much for your intervention. I think it was crystal clear. The messages were very, very clear. And I get this idea that you were saying, of course, slow doesn't mean to be late. The idea as well that this pandemic has confronted citizens, especially citizens in big cities, in metropolitan areas, to rediscover the city, to discover certain values that they had forgotten. And I was quite shocked, well, I have to admit, that you said you've been working on that for 22 years. And merely, we discovered that within Metropolis almost last year because of the pandemic. Last year, we launched a call which was called, I'm sorry if I'm redundant, a call to rethink metropolitan spaces, which in fact, it's quite, most of the principles that we're listing in this call to rethink metropolitan spaces are linked with what you are saying about making sustainable, safe, healthy cities, to rethink the urbanism, to rethink the mobility, to rethink the way that we work, to rethink the communities within the metropolitan areas. So it's very interesting that I think probably this pandemic, it's an opportunity for big cities to connect with these principles of a slow city. And I just take the liberty to offer our platform, the USE platform, which is, we work together with Uclg, is what's called the Urban Sustainable Exchange Platform. If you want to share experiences with all the members of Metropolis and Uclg on what you have achieved in your project. So, and this platform is open for you to use it and to share your experiences. Now we're moving to Korea with Professor Bon Son. Of course, we are in the summit of Culture Summit of Uclg, and already Pier Giorgio Olivetti mentioned about the culture, the links with the past, with the heritage, with culture. And I think you could explain more us about the role of culture in sustainable slow cities and metropolises, and some of the experiences of Korea. So whenever you want, Professor Son.
Okay, thank you. Buongiorno tutti. Bon Son coordinator of Digital Korea Network, talking about a bit slowly, Digital Metropole. Today, addicted to speed, addicted to energy, epicenter of global heating and the pandemic outbreak is big cities. To become a slow metropole and achieve a new urbanism, let me introduce most important of all, 4 value chains are suggested. Ecological nature, the slow, active well-being and the slow life of local people, slow city food and overcome a COVID-19 crisis, polycentric urban structure and harmonious community. The final destination of a slow in a metropole can be reached by improving life quality, meaning good life, good people, and good relationship. About the ecological nature of slow, global heating is estimated to be underlying cause of COVID-19 pandemic. So we should change our roles to energy producers from consumers. So we should bend over backward to make a new sustainable ecosystem, such as eco-family and eco-citizen to eco-education. And the first goal of a policy should be eco-nature slow, I think so. Act well-being and slow life of local people. It is most important to remember goal of slow is action. We should take action for following slow life, which will achieve well-being and happiness. Renewable energy campaign, drive less, walk and ride the bike, turn off the light, eat less meat, reduce waste, wait just 3 seconds, breathe in and out for 1 minute, always smile, practice 3S, slow, small, and simple. 진행이 안 되나? Next, slow city food and overcome a COVID-19 crisis. Eat healthy in the COVID-19 crisis because there is no medication for coronavirus. The safest way to overcome pandemic era is to have locally produced traditional food for food cure as a preventive medicine and the best vaccination. create a farm for non-GMO ingredients and urban green garden by utilizing small farms and kitchen gardens. In terms of polycentric urban structure and harmonious community, divide a large city into several sub-centers and develop into polycentric city and community based on nature-oriented garden city, small business-friendly city, and digital intermediate technology economy, etc., to become a slow, local, sustainable urbanism. The city formula, the more people the better, has been broken since the coronavirus. It is necessary to decentralize the population of the metropole. The city should be a compact anchor, a network type of the polycentric urban cities. So create a new downtown lifestyle community to vitalize the early economy of local businesses being in harmony with life quality. Lastly, for value change of Chitta metropole, ecological nature Chitta slow, active well-being and the slow life of local people, slow city food and overcome COVID-19 crisis, and the polycentric urban structure and the harmonious community. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for intervention and how connecting the Chitta's Law movement with the metropolises around the world. I think this idea came as well before with the intervention of Mr. Olivetti. Is this idea of rethinking urbanism, rethinking the design of these big cities and how we can contribute to create a polycentric city. And where as well, these ideas have been emerging during the pandemic, like the 15 minutes walk city, how we can also make communities and quarters more vibrant, the proximity, the economy of proximity, etc., and how we can dynamize all these things together. So, and also how we can introduce new models and style lives within our citizens. So, thank you for your intervention. Now we are moving to Andrea Kalori. He's a researcher of Chitta's Law International. I think he will be presenting the connections between the principles of Chitta's Law and the connection as well with the global agendas and international agendas and the sustainable development. I think from the previous interventions, we already know which are going to be the connections between sustainability, Chitta's Law, and the global agendas, but okay, Andrea Kalori, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Octavio. Good afternoon to everyone. I would like you to drive your attention to some pieces of activities of Chitta's Law that can be used to understand what kind of sharing experiences and sharing values and sharing perspective can we create between Chitta's Law and the international agenda. As you know, the international agenda is something that it is made by a lot of people, a lot of institutions, so there is not one agenda. So there are a lot of experiences, and like Pier Giorgio Olivetti told just 5 minutes ago, there are some innovators, and then many other people come together to go, finding their ways. So there is not one agenda, but there are experiences. And this is why I say back and forward. We have to know each other. We are hosted here by Uclg because there is a long tradition in Uclg in how to have a good governance for a lot of municipalities and local government. And so the idea is, what can we exchange back and forward? Pier Giorgio told before that one very important part of the activity of Chitta's Law is the list of indicators. The indicators are something for people working on the technical level. For example, I am one of those people. But indicators has not only the technical dimension. because when we decide to measure something is because we think that something is important. What is important for us? What is important for our well-being? So the indicator is a way to understand what is important for us. Then there are the technical aspects. And the so-called Cheetah's Law certification, so there is a process to be part of Cheetah's Law. And this process means that you have a discussion to understand what is important for your city and how to measure it. This is the scope of the certification, divided into 7 macro areas, like Pier Giorgio told before. This could be an exchange point with the other tradition of working locally. This is just to figure out what is a table, a matrix to measure the 7 areas. So there are a lot of activity to do. It's not so easy. The city of Smyrna is working on the technical level to understand what indicators are important for what kind of policies. And this could be a way to exchange to other international agenda. This is a recall of the 17 sustainable goals. That is the global narrative for sustainability starting from 2015. There was a long process, a lot of years, a lot of discussion all over the world to define the 7 goals. Behind the 7 goals, there are 169 targets. There are a lot of numbers. It's a narrative because there was a huge discussion for years, national level, local level, regional level, academics, cities, and so on, to define the targets. It's a technical issue, but then also a political issue. So what is the relation between the global narrative of sustainability, which is adopted all over the world now, and the more than 20 years experience of Cheetah's Law? Here that could be a way to discuss on a technical point of view and a political or cultural point of view what is important to measure. In the SDGs, there are the so-called voluntary reviews, especially is something for nations and for regions, not necessarily for cities, because the SDGs is a global narrative, which is mainly at a national level or regional level. One key issue that it is discussed all over the world is what is the local dimension of sustainability in the cities. And this could be the connection between the experience of Cheetah's Law, that before the sustainable goal, before a lot of indicators, before other discussion, started to measure practices. So in Cheetah's Law, there are a lot of practices, political decision, technical activities, and then the indicators. So this could be the link. Also Turkey, we are hosted here in Turkey. There is the national review on the SDGs. What can do a city like Smyrna, a city around the world, to close the circle, because a global narrative of sustainability and the local dimension. And here I put in this slide, yes, the sustainable goals, some of the main United Nations initiatives on the city level, the FAO Green Cities Initiative, the New Urban Agenda, the UNESCO, and so on. So United Nations is moving towards cities. Then there are other networks, other associations, younger than Cheetah's Law. Some of them are have a more integrated approach. Some of them are more sectorial. And so there are different international agenda. I think that the problem is the territorialization of SDGs, of Sustainable Development Goals. What is happening for sustainability at the local level? What we want to do, what kind of objective values and policies and then measures. Here there's the missing link. And so this could be a field of exchange, back and forward, between different agendas and the experience of Cheetah's Law, which is made by the decision of mayor, because as a community of mayor, I like this definition because it's really a community of mayors, and they have to decide what to do. So really very practical, but behind, also here in Cheetah's Law, there is a back and forward process between practices and the theoretical aspect and the definition of tools. I think that the experience of Cheetah's Law can help the international agenda in this way to use this experience, more than 20 years experience, to define what is locally, the local dimension of sustainability. I think that we can do it together. I think that just to close, the Cheetah's Law Metropolis project is important because it is really a jump between the experience of medium and small cities and the discovery of the big cities as a universe, as a city of cities. A big city is a city of cities, like it was told before also by other people. And so we can do this jump to say, okay, a lot of experiences at local level, what we can do in a bigger situation. And I think that the hub of Smyrna can be the hub, the pilot city of a network of cities coming into the Cheetah's Law approach and connected to the international agenda for sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea Kalori. It's very interesting what you've shown us, because you were talking about these three different levels, no? The political level, the technical level, and then the implementation of these approaches, no? How this dialogue between the political approach with the technical approach. But I think that which I think is really, really impressive, is that you've been able to translate the principles of Cheetah's Law, that they are not only principles and theoretic concepts, but as well in a list of indicators, let's say indicators or areas of work that then you certify. So it can help you to monitor that really it's not about a political statement, but this political statement is connected to the reality, to the implementation of projects. And I think that's really interesting, that because sometimes networks, we are very good at launching principles, concepts, and of course we need these political concepts and push. But on the other way around, we need to be able to translate these concepts and principles into practice. And I think you're managing quite well to do it. And whilst I was thinking to you, I was thinking as well in terms of the international agendas and the SDGs, the other way around. I mean, probably the implementation of your principles and indicators can be a tool for local governments to achieve the SDGs. So it can help, the principles of the city can help cities to align them to the SDGs. So it's not that you have extra work that you need to align to the SDGs, you need to align to the principles of Cheetah's Law. In fact, they go hand by hand. And I think that's pretty interesting to take into account. And now, last but not least, our last speaker is Mr. Bullet Koster, the coordinator of Cheetah's Law Metropolis Izmir project. And I think we were able to have a perspective from the practicality of a city, of a metropolitan city, on how they are implementing and developing the principles and projects of Cheetah's Law. So whenever you want.
Thank you. Before switching to Turkish, I would like to thank Mr. Olivetti and Mr. Kalori for being us here today in these difficult times. Cheetah's Law Metropol projesi bizim için çok heyecan verici.
The Cheetah's Law Metropole project is a very exciting one. It's also a unique one for us because it has two important dimensions. First of all, this is not something only a project developed only for Izmir, because big cities are all having same conditions, are going through same conditions. Yes, they are a cultural and artistic generators where the innovation and commercial life is a locomotive, but it is also a complicated problem circle, of course. And when the cities grow bigger, the problems get bigger too, of course. So for that reason, this Cheetah's Law network shall be addressed with the Cheetah's Law philosophy and Cheetah's Law perspective to find a solution to these problems that the big cities are experiencing. And of course, before us, there are many experiences, perspectives, and approaches before us discussed on these issues, like mitigating the carbon emissions, mitigating traffic jams, etc. But the main aim is to increase the life quality of people living in the city, and Citaslow is the one which provides the globalization of this model. Actually, it is the thing, this model they are going to develop, I think, and will be also used in other big cities in the world. And the other important dimension of this project is the Citaslow model. Citaslow municipality union is a union which has been working for 22 years, and it is a very important, it's a precious experience, and we want to say that it's not only in Canada, in Australia, in Korea, in other cities. This model is being applied in different countries. And as you know, of course, city structures changes according to the region or the countries. But despite all these differences and context, Citaslow model is being applied successfully, and it also shows that the experience of this Citaslow philosophy is successful. And these 72 criteria are developed by international scientists, and it is something that can be applied. They can be applied in all fields, in all cities. And so the thing, it also paves the way to use this model throughout all corners of the world. So how do we develop and how do we try to implement it? The first important point is the involvement of the society or the community. The urban problems, of course, are the problems of the people living in it itself, of course. So it is not something as there can be many successful models developed in the table by the scientists, but it is also it will not be successful if you do not involve the local people living in these cities. So from the beginning, with the NGOs, the chambers, scientists, experts, they are all included in this process. We are talking with them, we are developing this work with them. So Citaslow Metropole projects as the Citaslow neighborhood program will be developed, and it is something we are trying to redesign the neighborhood with the neighborhood people to reuse the public space again according to the needs of inhabitants of this neighborhood. And of course, it is also something that we develop this model, not from the beginning of developing this model, both with the NGO, both with the people in this area. We are going to apply this model with all together. Yes, you can do structural changes in a city, or maybe you can mitigate the number of cars, you can ban them entering to the city center, they can use many applications, but the society and the urban life is something interacting each other, so it can the changes in society can structure the city sometimes, or vice versa. And of course, it will be both on the structure of the city and both for the behavior change of the local people living in the city. Let me wrap up here because I am the last speaker. I don't want to waste your time a lot. Thank you so much.
No worries. I know it's late for you.
Evet, biliyorum sizin için biraz geç oldu, doğru. Ve sanıyorum evet, çok güzel. Yani senin söylediklerin gerçekten çok önemli. Çünkü biz aslında toplum katılımı ile ilgili şeyler konuşmuştuk. Buna toplum katılımına dair yaptığınız vurgu gerçekten çok önemli. Toplum katılımına dair yaptığınız vurgu çok iyiydi ve tabii ki elbette şu da var. Bir başka önemli şey şu. Şu bir soru, chat bölümünde bir soru var. Bir onu okuyayım. Şöyle söylüyor. Siz zaten söylediniz ama Citaslow projesi belediye tarafından mı yürütülüyor, sivil toplum örgütleri de ayrıca katılıyor mu diye sorulmuş ama siz bunun zaten cevabını verdiniz. Beni duydunuz mu bilmiyorum. Bilgisayarımdan ses ve diğer çeviriler.
Have you understood now? I think now it's working. Sorry. I think it was that there was overlapping for me, it was the overlapping of the Turkish interpretation with English interpretation. So the question was a little bit to develop what you were saying, Mr. Bullen-Koster, is, and this is one of the questions in the chat here, is that how you involve, because you were talking about involvement citizens, involvement communities, how you can involve all these different actors. I mean, we understand from your speech that it's not about the municipality alone. The municipality needs to create, I suppose, synergies with the different actors in the territory, not only to develop the ideas, but to implement the ideas, isn't it?
The thing is, we try to include civil society, chambers, universities, experts since the beginning, and we are deciding the criteria, the requirements, or the idea of Chittas or Metropolis with them. That was the first thing we did. We asked these civil society and these stakeholders, what do you think a life in a big city should be like? What are the problems in Izmir? How do you think they can be solved? And what do you expect from a slow big city? So the first idea in the beginning was established. Chittas or Metropolis idea was established altogether. So we didn't cook up something and expect them to join later. We include them from the beginning.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I will have some time for questions from the audience or as well from on the chat or live there. I see a hand rising there. I'm not sure. Yes. So I think there's a lady at the end of the room, and then the mayor of Izmir as well. So first, let's give the mayor of Izmir to intervene, please.
I just want to add just a few words about what we are doing, if you permit. Being fast and being big are the main reasons of how we destroyed our lives and how it is not going to be sustainable afterwards. So for this reason, Chittas Slow movement gives an opportunity to find another way to sustain the future. For this reason, it is important. There are so many attempts to make it easier, our lives, everywhere in the world. But the difference of Chittas Slow movement is that it has the criteria which they adopted to small cities since 22 years, and it functions. Now it is time to transform those criteria for a metropolis. And you know the symbol of the snail, the symbol of Chittas Slow. Why it is the snail? First, the shell is so solid that it preserves what is inside. Second, it has antennas which he can communicate with the rest of the world. And the third, but not the least, we find it slow, but maybe it's not, because its existence in this planet is too much older than humankind. Maybe the right speed is his speed. This is our road to a better life. This is our road to a better future. We are following the snail. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your words and inspiring words. I'm thinking that we're working in the present, but we're also thinking about the future, which is taking place. We're already shaping the future. And I'm glad to see that in your movement you have Barcelona, Brussels, Busan, which are members of Metropolis, and it would be very nice if we can join forces together to work on these principles of Chittas Law and how, as you said, and I was saying at the beginning as well, that sometimes these principles of Chittas Law, we think it's easy to apply to a small city, but we can see that also it's possible to apply to a big city, to a metropolitan area. And I mean with the example of Izmir, and as you said, Barcelona, Brussels, Busan, we can share all your experiences to bring more metropolises on board. So thank you for your words, Mayor of Izmir. As I said, I don't know if there are other questions among the audience.
There is a lady there.
There was someone there, I think.
Thank you very much. I'm Catarina Vaspink, Deputy Mayor for Culture in Lisbon. I would like to ask Pier Giorgio, what are your views on the impact of digital technology on in the concept of slow Shita? Because digital technology is the main driving force for speed and acceleration. If you can speak a little bit about that.
Yes, it's the question of the questions because, of course, we are under pressure for the turbo system, but it's not a problem of IT. We are very friend of IT. We cannot exist as Chittaslow, born in 1999, without the information technology and the digitalization and the opportunity to exchange and share knowledge, wisdom everywhere, and to transfer also opportunities in the internal areas, in the little villages, not only in the center of the big cities, as in the past. But of course, it's a problem of balance. We don't speak today yet about that, because Chittaslow, it's a pattern based on the balance. If we have too much tourism in a place, we destroy the soul, the place, the experiences, also the touristic experiences of tourists, because it's too much. And the same one is for technology. If technology, we don't accompany with a certain education or self-education to these tools, education regulations, because it is time also to regulate a lot, also legally, what happens in the communication. Preserving the freedom and the rights, of course, by law, but not like a jungle. It's a problem of quantity, of modality, it is the problem for toxic, we have the digital too much detox in some generations. But it's not the problem, the core problem. The problem is to improve the contact and the use, good use of this technology, very essential, very important to share, to expand the knowledge, to connect. And I think it is, of course, the speedy in the IT, it's the speedy in the food, it's the speedy in the consume of soil, the speedy of consume of history and memories. Because we spoke, the culture is our DNA. Without history, we forgot history, we forgot geography, we forgot our competence on the territory in the new generations. It's not good. If we will be able to use the new technology in the appropriate way, we are more rich, more strong, and we are building future, shape future. Sorry, short.
May I add something about this? Because it's really crucial in a very practical way. Because usually when we think about information technology, and especially the internet, we think about a global dimension. I live in Milan, but I daily work with Baltimore, Cape Town, Rio de Janeiro. This is one of the... But there are a lot of opportunities to use information technologies, but also the web and also the social media at the local level for providing new services for neighborhood. There are a lot of self-organized initiatives at street level, for example, we know, time banks, sharing of experiences, local welfare, community welfare, local services. And so it's really the first way of thinking is to think about the internet, social media as something global. There are a lot of opportunities, but a lot of practices. And maybe this is a tricky question also for the local government how to reframe in a local perspective the direct connection with the citizen, between the institution and the citizen, and between the citizens. So,
thank you for the question. That was, thank the lady the question, because that was one of the questions I had if there was no questions, because is when we think about the new technologies or the 5G or the immediacy, that this society, that everything needs to be immediate, very, very quickly, everything needs to happen very fast. So how we can use these technologies the other way around to really build this kind of city and society that we want to build for the future. And we are running out of time, but I would like to conclude with a final question for any of the four panelists, or as well for the mayor of this meeting, because we're in the Culture Summit. And how you think the principles of Chita's law connect with culture, and as well how culture can be an enabler of the principles of Chita's law? Any one of you who wants to react?
Maybe to start with, I may say there is a fight between economy and ecology. And this fight also destroys the future. We have to find the harmony between economy and ecology. This is the matter of culture, because what we have accumulated in our lives is to find the harmony with the nature, to find harmony with each other, to find harmony with the past, and to find harmony with the change itself. So this is the matter of culture. Without culture, if you have science, then it becomes you create atomic bomb. Without culture, if you have politics, you may have wars and the destruction. Without culture, if you have economy, you will have inequality and autocracy. So culture is the essential. Thank you.
I think we can conclude with these remarks of Mayor of Izmir. Thank you to all of you for your attention. It's been quite challenging to do this, facilitating online with people on site. I think these hybrid models are going to be here for a while. We have to get used to it. But I've been really, really happy to be here today with you from Barcelona and to have these discussions. And I hope it won't stop here today, but we'll keep discussing with Metropolis, with Chita's Law, with UCSG together on further developments and to work together for the future. So thank you very much for your attention, and hope to see you all again. Thank you. Bye.
나한테 질문한 거지, 뭐 질문.